Hello friends, let's now surf through our equimaps webpage and see how in the equimaps interactive tool we can analyze the sustainability dimensions of sustainable health equity. So if you click on equimaps interactive and you click here on this interface link, you will then enter the Start Planet software with the different chapters of sustainable health equity indicators that we introduced in the introductory tutorial to equimaps. Now let's concentrate on the sustainability chapter, which is a very simple one. It only has one indicator of metric tons of CO2 emissions per capita a year. So click on there and you will see how the map looks according to carbon emissions per capita a year by countries. You will see here a legend of different levels of emissions, and you will see how the map looks like. The good thing about this software is that you can also see a video across time on how the carbon emissions have changed. So you just click on the play button and you will see how it moves and how countries have been evolving. Another interesting tool you can have in Start Planet is that you can change the colors or for instance, the number of categories. Let's now pick, for instance, a diverging color that shows red in the higher emissions and green in the lower emissions. Okay, and now let's oops, doesn't seem to work. Let's go back to that. Let's click OK. There you go. Now let's also change the thresholds here so we can see which countries have been performing under the planetary boundary of carbon emissions. We know that that boundary is above 2.5 on average for the last decade, and you will see here that now the legend shows 4 categories: those that had carbon emissions below 1 metric ton of CO2 per person a year, those that were 1 to 2.5, just under the planetary boundary, and those that were above in unsustainable levels, and those that were even more than twice or even close to 3 times the level of the threshold of planetary boundary, those least sustainable. We could even add another one if you want, which would be this match, which is let's put 2.5 here, which is above the planetary boundary. Let's put 5 to, for instance, 5 to 10, and let's now identify countries that are really much higher than what the Earth can recycle. Now look at this. This is how the country looks like in sustainability. Now let's see how it has been changing. Something like this. You will see the evolution of countries turning red or dark red across the last decade, and you can see here how there are countries that are really unsustainable models, dark red ones, like the States and Canada and Norway as a big oil producer, and some of the most densely also industrialized countries like the Netherlands, Czech Republic, some Baltic states, Finland, probably too cold there, Russia, some Stan republics that are oil producers, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, of course the Arabic Peninsula and the Arab Emirates, Australia and South Korea. A bit less but still quite unsustainable, Japan, Malaysia, Iran, oil producer, Libya, South Africa, and then parts of North Europe. Still unsustainable, but probably in a closer opportunity to become sustainable in Mediterranean, Sweden, parts of Eastern Europe, Mexico, the southern cone of South America, Venezuela, still an oil producing country but not at that level of pollution, and China. But you can also see in this software how a specific country has been performing throughout this time by clicking on this line. And you see here how China performs, for instance. You can also click on China, but you can also click on Russia and compare how both have been performing. You can also see how the different countries in the world in this bar chart have been performing from the most polluting country, Qatar, over 40 tons of CO2 emissions per capita a year, and those with a very low level. You can also see them here in a horizontal bar, countries like Kenya, Faso, Mozambique and others, and countries like Qatar, followed by others like Trinidad, but also then countries like Kuwait and the rest. Now you can also see how there's a correlation, for instance, between CO2 emissions, and let's put another indicator that you will see in the other tutorials, for instance, one of the basic indicators, GDP per capita. And you will see here how they perform, particularly if you reduce this, because there are countries with such a high GDP per capita that run and the rest in a very low scale. But also let's look at the bubble size of each of these countries. For instance, let's put different bubbles according to total population. Now let's go back to year 2000 and let's see how this correlation has been evolving. You see that countries here of big bubbles like China and India remain there. Since this doesn't move very much to the right, because there are only a few countries here with this very high GDP, let's change this by, for instance, 30,000 or 50,000, and we will see it in greater detail. Again, let's scroll down back to year 2000. Let's play and see how countries have been performing. Again, sorry, this is not correct. Let's see how we can definitely put this down. There you go. This is how the world correlated between CO2 emissions and GDP per capita. You see that under this level of around 2, like Brazil, there are no countries in the square above 12.5, 12,500 GDP per capita, which is more or less what high income countries are defined. None of these countries are sustainable. All the sustainable countries have GDP per capita lower than that level. China is off, is 6.2, but the big bubble of India is still sustainable. You can see here the rest. You can also click on the slope and see what is the correlation, and you see that there is a slight positive correlation. And you can do all the correlations, all the different correlations, that you may think are interesting to analyze sustainable health equity. You can also concentrate on a region. For instance, let's look at Europe and see in greater detail how each of these countries look like. You can also go back to all regions and see it back. So I hope you can enjoy this tool, use it for purpose of analysis and teaching and debates on a very fundamental dimension of sustainable health equity, which is that of sustainability. We've only looked at carbon emissions per capita as probably the most urgent of the planetary boundaries, but there are many others that are meant to be developed in this movement as we progress. And we count on you for that. Thank you.